Hello everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Moving Toward Microflashing, the Evolution of Residential Roof Flashing. I'm Kelly Pickrell, editor with Solar Power World. Before we begin, we want to let you know of a few things. This webinar will be sent to all registrants, so you can view it again at your convenience. Slides are available to view at any time in the resource widget at the bottom of your screen. You can submit any questions related to today's webinar in the Q&A widget, and we will try to get to these during the webcast. And if we do not get to your question, our presenters may reach out to you after the webinar. We welcome you to tweet with us using the hashtag SolarWebinar. And finally, if you are watching this on demand, you can still use all of these features. So let's get started with today's webinar, Moving Toward Microflashing, the Evolution of Residential Roof Flashing. Today's speakers are Samantha Dalton, Marketing Director, and Rick Gentry, Executive Vice President of Sales, both for Solar Roof Hook. During today's webinar, you will learn to identify the pros and cons of various residential roof flashing methods. You'll understand the codes and best practices pertaining to residential roof flashing. And you'll learn how to waterproof the roof safely and efficiently with microflashing technology. And now, we'll let Samantha kick things off.
Hello, and welcome to the webinar, Moving Towards Microflashing, the Evolution of Residential Roof Flashing, presented by Solar Roof Hook. My name is Samantha Dalton. I am the Marketing Director at Solar Roof Hook. I've been with Solar Roof Hook for 3 years, and my responsibilities include developing creative content for marketing activities such as email, print, and digital advertising, and working with our advertising partners like Solar Power World. So when you see a Solar Roof Hook ad in Solar Power World magazine, that was probably made by me. Rick Gentry, Solar Roof Hook's Executive VP, will be available at the end of the webinar to answer any questions. He's our industry expert here at Solar Roof Hook. He has been with Solar Roof Hook's parent company, QuickScrews, for 29 years, and he has led the growth of Solar Roof Hook since 2009. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. I'm going to quickly go over what we are going to cover in this webinar. I'm going to start by introducing you to, or reacquainting you with, Solar Roof Hook, and letting you know what we are about and what we do. Then, I'm going to go over why we decided the topic of residential roof flashing was important enough to create an entire webinar about. Next, I'm going to go over what exactly flashing is, in case anyone is unfamiliar with the terminology. After that, I'm going to get into the most confusing part of residential flashing, the codes and best practices. I will explain which organizations create and enforce the codes and best practices that pertain to flashing and what exactly they say. After getting through all of that technical information, I'm going to delve into our timeline of residential roof flashing and show you where flashing started, how it has changed over time, and what it is evolving into for the future. Finally, I'm going to discuss why microflashing technology is the future of residential roof flashing, and how Solar Roof Hook's patented QuickBOLT uses that technology to give installers a better mounting solution for asphalt shingle roofs. Okay, let's begin. Solar Roof Hook is a division of QuickScrews International Corp. QuickScrews has been in business for 30 years and is the leading supplier of woodworking screws in the nation. When the housing market collapsed, so did the cabinetry industry, QuickScrews' biggest customers. We started looking for a market we could expand into, and we ended up not having to look much further than our own parking lot. We were adjacent to a solar installation company at the time. They showed us what their mounts looked like and what problems they were having with them, and we immediately knew we could help. We worked with our factory to create better mounting solutions, and Solar Roof Hook was born. We now carry complete lines of mounting solutions for asphalt shingle, curved tile, flat tile, stone-coated steel, and metal roofs. Because of our close relationship with our factories, we regularly produce custom products for our customers in order to deliver the exact products they need for any type of roof. We have 2 warehouses, one in Livermore, California, and one in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and can deliver to anywhere in the country. So, why did we decide to create an entire webinar about residential roof flashing? Well, we have noticed that a lot of industry professionals haven't been properly educated on residential flashing options and the codes and best practices surrounding them. And because of this, many installers have continued to rely on dated, expensive, and time-consuming flashing methods. We want to inform you how flashing has evolved over time in ways that can save your business time, money, and liability. So, real quick, in case anyone is unsure, what is flashing? The definition of flashing is a piece of material used to stop water from penetrating the junction of a roof with another surface, which is basically just a fancy way of saying that flashing is meant to keep water from leaking into a roof. When residential roof solar is installed, mounts make penetrations into the roof, and flashing is required to keep homeowners' roofs from meeting an untimely demise. There are many different ways to flash a roof. Today we are going to focus only on asphalt shingle roof flashing systems. The codes. This is by far the most confusing aspect of residential roof mounting. The first thing you need to know is, who is your AHJ, or authority having jurisdiction? In solar installation, this typically means a local building department. They have the final say on how rooftop solar systems will be installed. The AHJ is empowered to interpret codes and standards and enact special requirements that address conditions unique to that area. The codes that an AHJ interprets are written by the ICC, or International Code Council. The ICC develops codes and standards used in solar installation in order to ensure that solar systems are safe, sustainable, affordable, and resilient. The ICC has two sections of code which apply to residential roof flashing. The IBC, International Building Code, and the IRC, International Residential Code. These IBC and IRC codes say the same thing, which is flashing shall be installed in such a manner so as to prevent moisture entering the wall and roof through joints and copings, through moisture-permeable materials, and at intersections with parapet walls and other penetrations through the roof plane, which is basically just saying that flashing must be installed in a way that keeps the roofs from leaking. The IBC also goes on to state that flashing shall be applied in accordance with this section of the code and also the asphalt shingle manufacturer's printed instructions. Therefore, installers should identify the exact manufacturer of the roofing material on a customer's home and double-check the manufacturer's website for instructions on properly installing flashing, maintaining the warranty, using the correct sealant, and ensuring a waterproof roofing system. The IBC also states that asphalt shingles shall have the minimum number of fasteners required by the manufacturer. So let me explain why this is important. When roofers install the shingles, they usually only use the minimum number of fasteners, or nails in this case, required by the roofing manufacturer. That means that none of the nails should be removed from the roof. However, some flashing systems we will cover later require the installers to remove nails from the roofing material in order to install the flashing. This is obviously not to code, but we'll get more into that later. Now, there are other things besides codes that AHJs and installers take into consideration, and those are best practices. Best practices pertaining to residential flashing are often set by roofing associations. One such association is the NRCA, or the National Roofing Contractors Association. The NRCA provides best practice information regarding the design, installation, and materials of rooftop solar systems. The NRCA defines flashing as components used to weatherproof or seal roof system edges at perimeters, penetrations, walls, expansion joints, valleys, drains, and other places where the roof covering is interrupted or terminated. Another association to know is ARMA, Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association. They provide best practice information for asphalt roofing materials to building and code officials. These best practices basically revolve around maintaining the integrity of the roofing material. UL, or Underwriters Laboratory, is also an important source of best practice information. They develop widely accepted standards for modules, inverters, and PV racking systems to reduce safety problems. The microflashing, which we'll talk more about later, is UL listed, along with the majority of our mounting solutions at Solar Roof Hook. These are really the only codes and best practices that directly apply to residential roof flashing. Check with your AHJ to confirm how they interpret these, as AHJs sometimes interpret codes differently and may reject flashing or mounting systems that are accepted in other counties. Providing your AHJ with the appropriate spec sheets and test results should ensure that any flashing we talk about today will be approved. We at Solar Roof Hook tell our customers who deal with certain difficult AHJs, and I'm sure if you're listening, you're not one of those ones. Anyways, we tell our customers to let us help by putting us directly in touch with the AHJ to offer additional justification for why that mount or flashing method is code compliant. So now that we've gone through all of that technical information, let's get into the fun stuff. Our timeline of residential roof flashing. This timeline covers the history of residential roof flashing innovations. I'm going to go over what each flashing is, how it is installed, and its pros and cons. There are variations of flashing that are not included on this timeline, but we decided to only include the 5 most popular and widely recognized throughout the industry. The first is aluminum flashing. It has been around about as long as people have been worried about their roofs leaking. How many of you have used this flashing before or immediately picture this in your head when I said flashing? Yeah, probably most of you. When someone refers to flashing, this is usually what comes to mind, as aluminum flashing is thought of as the traditional flashing system for residential roofs. Aluminum flashing is pretty much exactly what it sounds like, a piece of aluminum. It is usually around 9 inches by 12 inches or larger, depending on the manufacturer. The aluminum is shaped to fit around a piece of mounting hardware, such as an L-foot or U-foot. Aluminum flashing works by redirecting water runoff on pitched roofs away from the penetration made by the mounting hardware. Aluminum flashing is installed by first lifting the shingles. I'll get into why this is a problem in a second. Then inserting the flashing underneath one layer of the shingles. It is either secured to the roof by the weight of the roofing material or by nailing the flashing onto the roof. Aluminum flashing has been in the industry so long that many people have used it since they began installing solar. Compared to the flashing I'm going to talk about next, aluminum flashing is malleable and lightweight. Aluminum flashing is also a low-cost flashing option. It can be cut into smaller sizes to fit different roofing setups. That is, if you don't mind spending money on extra material or wasting time cutting flashing. Despite those positive aspects, aluminum flashing has quite a few drawbacks. Because the shingles need to be lifted in order for the flashing to be installed, nails have to be removed. This causes installers to run the risk of voiding the roof warranty and increases their liability. Many installers who still use this type of flashing don't even realize they are putting their companies at more risk by using this sealing method. Furthermore, this violates the code I previously mentioned by the IBC, stating that asphalt shingle roofs must maintain the minimum number of fasteners. In colder climates, shingles can become brittle, and lifting them can cause them to break, requiring the installer to purchase and lay an entire new sheet of shingles. Aluminum flashing is also secured by nailing the flashing down onto the roof, which of course creates more penetration. Here at Solar Roof Hook, we take the philosophy of less penetrations means less leaks. When shingles become decayed or over time or brittle in colder climates, having more penetrations on that roof becomes a much scarier proposition. The bulky size of the aluminum flashing makes it harder for installers up on the roof to handle it. It requires larger packaging, which means installers have to deal with more waste on the job and take more trips up and down the roof to carry the big boxes full of flashing. Although I mentioned the weight of the aluminum flashing as a possible plus side of this flashing option, because it is a 9 by 12-inch sheet, it also means that it can make it very hard to deal with on the roof, especially in high wind areas. The next evolution of flashing is galvanized flashing. Galvanized flashing arrived in the industry sometime in the 1980s. The only difference between aluminum flashing and galvanized flashing is that galvanized flashing is comprised of galvanized steel, providing it with more rigidity than aluminum. Galvanized flashing works in the same way as aluminum flashing. It redirects water runoff on pitched roofs. Galvanized flashing is also installed in the same fashion as aluminum flashing, by lifting the shingles, inserting it underneath the shingles, and securing it onto the roof by the weight of the roofing material or by nailing it down onto the roof. Because of its rigidity, galvanized flashing improved upon the issue aluminum flashing imposed in high wind areas. It won't bend or misshape in the wind, and installers won't have to worry about keeping it secure at all times while handling it on the roof in order to keep it from blowing away. The rigidity of the galvanized steel also makes it easier to install than aluminum flashing. It can be quickly slid underneath the shingles without meeting resistance. However, galvanized flashing still poses much of the same problems as aluminum flashing. The problem of having to separate shingles still occurs, and installers still risk voiding the roof warranty. Shingles also still have the possibility of breaking or cracking in cold weather, and more penetrations are still made when nailing into the roof. Galvanized flashing is heavier than the already bulky aluminum flashing. This means that installers will feel the pain of having to take multiple trips up and down the roof even more than they already did. Galvanized flashing is also more expensive than aluminum flashing. Unlike aluminum flashing, galvanized flashing cannot easily be cut to different sizes, limiting how close together mounts can be installed. So, once again, you're paying for an amount of material that is not only unnecessary, but inconvenient. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not how I want to be spending my money. The next major innovation in flashing technology took place almost 30 years later, in 2008, and that is rubber bushed flashing. Rubber bushed flashing is comprised of two pieces, aluminum flashing and rubber EPDM, the first instance of EPDM being used for flashing. This flashing is usually found in 8 by 12 inches. The rubber bushing is inserted into an opening in the aluminum flashing where the roof penetration is made. It seals against the mount to keep water from entering the penetration. Rubber bush flashing is installed in almost the same way as the two previous flashings, except after lifting the shingles and inserting the flashing underneath, the mount is driven into the roof and the rubber bushing is compressed to create the watertight seal between the flashing and mount. The flashing is then secured in the same way, by nailing it to the roof. The biggest improvement made by rubber bushed flashing is that it provides a truly watertight seal and does not depend on redirecting water to keep the penetration from leaking. However, it still has many of the same downsides as aluminum and galvanized flashing. Rubber bush flashing is one of the most expensive flashing options in the industry. Installers still risk voiding the roof warranty or breaking code by lifting the shingles. Shingles can still crack, the flashing is still bulky, and extra penetrations are still made in the roof. I'm getting tired of repeating these same problems over and over and over, but I'm going to have to do it one more time because the next flashing is elevated flashing. Elevated flashing was introduced into the industry in 2012. Like traditional aluminum flashing, elevated flashing is made of aluminum. However, elevated flashing works by utilizing gravity. It features a raised section located above the roof penetration, keeping water from running directly over the penetration. Elevated flashing is installed in the exact same way as aluminum and galvanized flashing. More lifting of shingles. The only significant positive aspect of elevated flashing is that it is more water resistant than traditional aluminum flashing. The raised area provides an extra defense against allowing leaks. The introduction of elevated flashing into the industry didn't do anything to improve upon the negative aspects of flashing that I have already mentioned. Shingles are still lifted, it's still bulky, and it still makes more roof penetrations. Like rubber bush flashing, elevated flashing is one of the more expensive flashing options on the market. One thing I will mention here that applies to all of the flashings I've talked about so far is that these are a pain to install. They're time-consuming and messy. So we have gone from the 1900s to 2012 without being able to fix any of these problems. Until now. Enter the microflashing, the most recent and significant innovation in the flashing industry. With a 3-inch or 4-inch diameter, microflashing is much smaller than traditional flashing. Microflashing is a compression washer comprised of stainless steel on top and EPTM on bottom. Microflashing works with our patented QuickBOLT, which uses a special hanger bolt to drive down and compress the washer on the roof, creating a 100% watertight seal. Microflashing is installed very differently than the other flashings we have talked about. It is placed directly over the shingles and the bolt is driven into the joist. That's it. So, how does this innovative flashing technology solve the problems of the past? Well, microflashing can be installed in a matter of minutes, making it the fastest installation time of any flashing or mounting system. This saves installers time and allows them to commit to and complete more jobs. Being the smallest of any flashing system, microflashing is also the easiest to work with. Installers don't have to make trips up and down the roof and save themselves from having to dispose of a ton of empty boxes. Because shingles do not have to be lifted, installers do not risk voiding the roofing warranty or break the code. Microflashing is also the most effective flashing system available. Because it compresses and chemically bonds with the roof, microflashing is able to create a 100% leak-proof seal with a 25-year warranty. And, as mentioned earlier, microflashing is also fully code compliant and UL listed. But let's be honest, what really matters to installers? Saving money. And microflashing is the most cost-effective flashing system on the market. Microflashing really doesn't have any drawbacks, unless you're one of those people who don't embrace change and innovation. Because microflashing is not a big, bulky piece of aluminum, the traditionalists of the industry have been hesitant in the past to accept it as a flashing system. We don't like change, they say. We've been doing this for 30 years. Why should we change now, they say. However, not only is microflashing a viable flashing method, it is the most innovative and reliable flashing method available. It has eliminated many of the problems installers have been forced to suffer through for the previous century of residential roof flashing. Microflashing is quickly becoming the most popular flashing method in America. Now, you can't think microflashing without thinking QuickBOLT. The QuickBOLT is Solar Roof Hook's patented microflashing mounting system. Now, the QuickBOLT might be best known for its microflashing component, but that is not its only innovative feature. As I mentioned at the beginning, Solar Roof Hook is a division of QuickScrews, the nation's top supplier and leading experts of woodworking screws. Our founder and CEO, Greg Wiener, has always said that driving into wood is driving into wood. So, we took our extensive knowledge of driving into wood and applied it to the QuickBOLT. The QuickBOLT has the coarse thread we use in our most popular woodworking screws. We make the screw thread angle steeper than average, which reduces the torque when driving through the wood. It may not sound like much, but anyone who's ever been up on a roof in 95-degree heat for a couple of hours will tell you that any way to get the job done faster is worth it. Using our QuickBOLT is one easy way to save time up on the roof. The QuickBOLT also contains a feature called the Type 17 point. Sometimes known as an auger point, it clears out debris in the pilot hole, therefore reducing stress and splitting in the wood. This means less torque when driving, resulting in the installer's arms being less tired. Also, if you don't pre-drill the hole all the way, the Type 17 will finish that up for you. With the looming threat of President Trump's tariffs, it is going to become more and more important for installers to cut costs wherever possible without sacrificing quality in order to remain competitive. Switching to the QuickBOLT is one easy way to do so. In the past year, sales for the QuickBOLT have increased by 300%, just further proving what we have known all along. The industry is moving towards microflashing. So, just to recap, we want installers to understand the codes surrounding residential roof flashing so they can make informed decisions about the flashing options available. You should contact your AHJ to determine how they interpret the IBC and IRC codes requiring flashing to be installed correctly and to keep any leaks from occurring on the roof. After doing that, you'll be able to evaluate the flashing options we went over today, from the many iterations of aluminum flashing to the innovative microflashing technology, which has eliminated many of the issues surrounding the industry's traditional aluminum flashing methods. The QuickBOLT utilizes this microflashing technology to provide the most cost-effective and time-saving solar mounting solution in the industry. If you would like to find more info on the QuickBOLT or microflashing, you can find all of that on solarroofhook.com. We have spec sheets, test results, brochures, written and video installation instructions, and multiple educational videos. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to pass it off to Rick Gentry now, who will dive a little bit deeper into the QuickBOLT and be able to answer any questions you may have. Thank you and have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. And before we get into questions, just wanted to give you a few more reminders. Again, you can submit any questions for our Q&A in the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen. And this webinar will be sent to all registrants, so you can view it again whenever you want. We are in the middle of the webinar Moving Toward Microflashing, the Evolution of Residential Roof Flashing, and it's sponsored today by Solar Roof Hook. And now we're going to start the Q&A portion with Rick. Okay, Rick, our first question is going to be, what proof do you have that your products are waterproof?
Okay, so we do have test reports from Intertech Testing. We did 2 different tests, a static water test where we installed it in, they basically put it in a big crate of water, let it sit for 7 days. There was no leaks on that. Every test we did on the overlap, as well as a pressure test where they pressurized a cylinder up to 30 psi. No water was pushed through during that test. Those two things, as well as the EPDM, metal industry, and the way it adheres to shingle, while it's different metal, it's still chemical bonds combination sealant. That could that's
Okay, do you guys have anything for metal roofs?
We do have different products for metal roofs, and we are going to look at a new type of washer that'll be combined with the QuickBOLT for metal roofs. But the products we currently have aren't in the QuickBOLT line, but they are on our website under solarroofhook.com.
Okay. How would you install microflashing in the interfaces other than bolting the solar panels, if that makes sense?
I don't understand that question. I read it. I don't understand what that means exactly. I can tell you that we intend to, the bolt goes into a rafter, and the L-foot that attached to the bolt gets a standard rack, side mount rack. That's the only way that I know how to.
Yeah, if you guys want to send in some clarifying questions, please feel free. And remember, you can continue to submit questions in the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen. Who stocks the QuickBOLT? Where can people find it?
So we do have distributors, CD, GreenTex, several of those stock them, IES, Rexel, name a few. Also, we have a listing of all of our distributors on the website under solarroofhook.com, and going to be under distributor near you, so you can check that. Also, you can buy all of our products on our website under solarroofhook.com. Shipped from Livermore, California, and Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Okay, how long has the product been on the market?
We brought it in 2012 and have been installing on roofs from about 2012 now.
Okay, perfect. Has the QuickBOLT and more of your products, have they been approved in any jurisdiction so far?
Several. We're shipping all over the country. The jurisdictions are approving. We had a few that haven't.
Okay. What's the testing around the QuickBOLT? Has everything been tested for like 10-year scenarios?
So far, the proof that we have that it works, EPDM material itself has been in the market several years. But as far as we haven't done any accelerated tests yet. We're looking at that right.
Okay. So over time, roofs will deteriorate. So how does the QuickBOLT continue to seal at the penetration?
One of the key features on the washer is a compression washer, and it actually compresses about 1/8 to 1/4 inch down in. So even at deterioration, it's still going to be compressed in and around the penetration, creating a seal inside in and around the.
Okay, we'll have just a few more questions. What do you do when the QuickBOLT needs to be installed on an overlap of a shingle?
So a lot of our customers, and first of all, we tested on the overlap, and it was successful. Many of our customers will install just wherever the rafter is, they'll install it. I would pry up the overlap, and I would wedge the washer in between it. Whether downward overlap, I would definitely lift the shingle up a tiny bit and take under there. But you don't, from my what I've seen, they're not doing it. I would prefer to install flat.
Okay. Reading over some of these questions coming in. Do you recommend any sealant under the washer or in the pre-drilled bolt hole?
I would recommend basically after you pre-drill the hole, put a blob of sealant right over that hole about the size of a quarter, a small dollop of sealant. So the answer to your question is yes, definitely recommend sealant. That is one of the bonding factors. Although we've done testing without sealant and been proven out to be waterproof without it as well. My recommendation, and all of our customers are using.
Okay, so what testing have you done so far in the QuickBOLT, and where can we find the results?
Testing is online under the in the product. You pull out the test results. I've got a new test coming. We just started. The original test company went out of business, so we resubmitted to get tested by Intertech, which is more of a national laboratory. We figured probably won't be going out of business. We tested our 4-inch washer recently, and then we just recently 3-inch. I was asking this morning, test is ready. But we did a static water test, and we did a pressure test. Those tests are available. I don't know, 4-inch washer hasn't been launched yet. It's not up there. The 3-inch test should be up. There is a current test on there. It's just waterproof.
Okay. EPDM, it's close to silicon, and silicon kind of tends to deteriorate over time. So does the EPDM, does it dry out, flake off, or degrade over a 25-year warranty?
Well, again, we know that this product has been working in the metal roof industry for over 50 years. Because it's sealed underneath the metal, underneath the stainless steel washer, it's have very minor deterioration.
Okay. All right, here's the next question. This approach to flashing seems to lack the redundancy that you get when using flashing that must be inserted under the shingles. So can you talk about the product warranty and maybe any user-related issues that you've seen in the field?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that. So we understand it's a different approach to flashing. But again, as Samantha said several times, the definition of flashing is to seal the penetration. So we have seen this does seal the penetration, proven it out in our test. As far as the product warranties, our warranty is similar to what we read other manufacturers' warranty, and that online.
Okay, I think this will be our last question. What would you do with your product if there is a roof replacement?
So that's easy. Our product is completely removable. Same driver that you install it to move it. So that's one of the first reasons why we came up with the product. We knew a lot of solar getting installed, and in 20 to 30 years, people are going to replace the roofs. How are they going to take off a bolt that's installed with a hanger bolt? Very, very challenging. This product to take out, re-roof, put it back in, over it, however you want to do it, but very easy product.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Rick, for answering these questions, and I want to say thanks to Samantha for giving the presentation earlier. And thanks for everybody for joining us on this webinar. If you want some more information on future webinars, please visit solarpowerworldonline.com and join us for more webinars in the future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.